Oh. Where? You look on the mission, pretty slowly has. Speed and traffic shapes, you know. Something on safety committee probably is a more restrictive name.
What time is that one?
That
Same time as the safety one this afternoon.
1:30.
What is that for?
That usually doesn't involve you, it involves department heads and employees to make sure work environments are safe for OSHA. It's their chance to say, hey, I need a new pair of steel toe boots. Or, and once we're ready to go. Evaluating injuries.
So I have to ask, the four people who are in the audience, you just here to observe?
Do I have another option? Can we speak?
Could have joined the committee.
I didn't know there was a committee till last night, so he didn't either.
We do put it out. We put it out on Everything Columbia, if you have text my gov on your phone. We ask people to get that because we text you about things that are happening in the town, meetings. Events, we do our best to get the word out.
I do have the town text, but I didn't go there about it.
No. Hello, good morning, everyone. Here the fires out.
Yeah, put it on itself, it's basically backfires.
So, good morning to the five of us on the committee, three of us who have to be here. There's no question that we have. And at every event I go to, people talk to me about traffic and speed and safety of our roads in Columbia. Last night, comment was made about their corner and stuff, and you know, as a traffic authority in town, I can't do a damn thing about it if I don't know. I don't traverse every town, every road in the state. I don't know the traffic patterns at different times of the day and everything. I respond to what people say and when they call me. We're in a unique spot for traffic. We have two basically cut through thoroughfares, highways, state-owned roads that we can do really nothing about. 66 and 87. Not to mention Route 6 coming off the speedway, going through the, you know, the corner on the Indy 500, heading down Route 6 toward Andover. It's a state road. So when people talk about traffic lights here and there, we do ask the state. They do their study, and for the most part, we get nothing. So it's not the lack of trying. We continue, even when they say no, we try again and we try again. There are roads that we can deal with through town. And I've tried, I brought up a couple of things at different meetings, and the board of selectmen have either shot them down. Or do a bureaucratic tap dance and say, let's put a committee together. So here we are, one more song and dance, in my opinion. We have problems. There are solutions. And there's gonna be some people who don't like the solutions, but that's the way it goes. For the good of the people of the town and the safety, you have to look at this with an open mind. I already know some of you have opinions. I don't want speed cameras in our town. I don't want humps on the roads, the speed bumps, and I don't want the mumble strips and stuff. I get it. If you say that, you better have an alternate solution for the problems. I talk with the trooper all the time. I think every Monday I'm gonna start posting the number of speed tickets from the previous week and the residents who live in Columbia. They're the ones complaining. But in speaking with him and also Troop K, they're the ones that are most of the offenders, people who live in town. They want safety in town, but not from them. I want my lake to be clean, but not for my boat, I can do it myself. No, I want this, not for me. You put us in a tough situation. But honestly, I don't care. I have a job to do. And I'm asking this committee to do their job. So either we come up with some solutions. I'll find something. I gotta post your name on it one day. I don't have no problem with that whatsoever. I tell my wife every morning on her way to work. Watch the speed limit. I told the trooper, you hit my wife, nail her with the ticket. I don't care. I don't care. This is the biggest concern of people in town. Is speed and traffic on the roads. And I get it, I live on 87 and I pull out my driveway awful gingerly. Because people are doing 65 exiting town, and when they come around the corner, they're doing 55 coming up the road that I can't barely see. They don't even look for me, believe me. So there's a lot of solutions out there. Or choices. I'm waiting to hear what you guys come up with.
So there's two pieces of this, I think, is first is kind of, and you guys have done this on the board of selectmen a lot, but listening to the concerns and then all options are on the table. I think we can, I don't know, necessarily know that's an oversimplification, but. You know, I think you're right, some options are not going to be palatable for whatever reason, but we need to make sure that all options are on the table. Make sure that it's not a bureaucratic mess of just stall and delay, because that's my concern too. Make some reasonable but quick decisions and move forward, but community engagement is gonna be the biggest thing, I think, so. That's my 2 cents.
I'll tell you now, getting another state trooper. It's probably not gonna happen at the price tag. Oh, if I can get another. If I can get another one like Trooper Allen. I might consider it, but I would also petition the state to give us some of the money he writes from tickets. It's ridiculous, he's single-handedly putting the budget together to the governor of the mine, in my opinion, but I'd like some of that money to come here to help pay for the second trooper. I did have a meeting, we all did, on last week. Surrounding towns with the commanding officer of the Connecticut State Police. And there were some things that were laid out, and some of the things that we talked about. A year or two ago, when I sat down with the sergeant from Troop K. And all of a sudden, they're now saying, yeah, we can do some of these things. We will be petitioning other towns to say, hey, we're gonna give you our trooper for a day. So you can have a kind of a traffic web for speeders in the back roads of your towns, use them how you want. But in return, I'm gonna ask for their troopers to spend a day or two in Columbia. To write tickets for people who are disrespect. There's a couple other things that there's grants out there that we can get extra troopers to do traffic. So we're gonna continue to take advantage of that. But we need to do some things in our town without relying on just one state trooper or some programs that may or may not happen. So.
You wanna take a minute and let everybody introduce themselves?
Sure.
Chiefs. Jeff Lewis, Chief of the Columbia Volunteer Fire Department.
Steve Stumpy,
Deputy Fire Chief, Deputy Fire Marshal. Justin Riando, resident.
Mark Walter, Town Administrator.
Gary Allen, trooper, resident trooper. Frank Ferris, resident.
Dr. One, Public Works Director.
And then if you want to do the agenda, we do the allegiance and then we do the audience citizens. And then we could get into the media that some of the topics.
In the future, I'm not sure we have to. I like doing the pledge of allegiance, I'm not sure we have to, but since it's on the order today, so, I don't think I wanna chair everything, to be honest with you. So I'm just waiting for the results to come through. So we'll do it first. First of all, please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's get it up. Yeah. Anybody approve of the agenda? Anybody have anything else they wanna put on here? What's the agenda? New business. Mission statement. I love this stuff. You're not listening. Mission statement. Okay, great. I'll handle this until you guys pick a chair, then. I'm just gonna wait for
Citizens, yes.
How do we have approval of management stuff?
That's just this, there will next week.
So I see 4 people. Hi, anybody have any questions or actually comments? We can take comments right now. State your name for the record, please.
I'm Sherry Gage,
And your address?
232 Route 87.
Thank you.
I'm just here because I have an interest in pedestrian safety in the town.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
Sue Hud, got to say my address, did you say? 188 Route 87, and I'm interested in the results of the traffic survey, just saw on YouTube.
Okay. Yes,
Mona Morkier, 6 Pine Ridge Road. I live off of the little horseshoe community, off of Rose's Bridge. Which since they opened up that to a 2-lane bridge, the traffic is horrendous. The speeding is horrendous when I walk that. If there's a car coming towards me and another one coming this way, they don't even slow down. Like I have felt cars inches away from my hands. Like they just keep on speeding, and as I see, it seems like they almost go faster. It's horrible. There's blind corners when you're trying to pull out of your road. You can't see, so one day I was pulling out, look to the left, nothing, pull out. All of a sudden, there's a car passing me on the left on that little section going up to Route 6. Came out of nowhere, like they were just flying over that bridge. And I've seen accidents coming up off of Rose's Bridge onto Route 6. I've witnessed, I was 2 cars behind one that witnessed not too long ago. It's really bad on that road.
thank you.
No.
Okay.
Am I also sorry? Can I also comment on what I think a good solution would be?
Yeah.
I was going to Marlboro the other day. And got something from the town of Marlboro, which was a ticket. $50 for the ticket, $15 for administrative fees for a camera that I didn't know existed, obviously. I think if we put a camera there, it would generate a ton of revenue for Columbia, a ton of revenue. Like you would get your money back in a day, I'm sure, because people are doing 50 or 60 miles an hour. That
25.
Yeah, on the 25.
Thank you for your comment. Cameras are in this packet somewhere. We talked about them on the Board of Selectmen. I actually, 8 months ago, talked to our town administrator, said I want to be the first town in the state to have cameras. The Board of Selectmen said, no, it'll take away our rural look. And to be honest with you, up until a month ago was the same thing. I asked for cameras again, and that's why basically this is put together, this committee, because they didn't want to have a vote on it. And
Well, Marlborough.
I
is a
understand.
Cute little town, and I didn't know that the camera was there. obviously.
Surprise, you'll know next time, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of hidden, yeah, I go
Yep.
very slowly now down. These are
Yeah,
so.
There's a reason why I brought cameras up, but once again, I work on a board of selectmen, so. But thank you for your comments.
No, we're in old business. No, jump to. No.
Okay, we do a mission statement, is that?
Nick had an idea about possibly changing the name.
It's, I haven't seen a commission with this mission, have the name speed in it. I think it is a little confusing considering the town also has a safety committee which deals with unrelated topics. Fairly common title in Connecticut and other states is something along the lines of Traffic and Transportation Committee. It just very clearly outlines that this is dealing with roads, getting around, but it doesn't exclude pedestrian, bicycle, and other modes of transportation from being within scope, which I think this mission statement notes that we're addressing a broad depth of scope here, so I think, having title that reflects that would be a little more informative for the town. Just so it's not, we're here to
So
talk
what
about
do
speed cameras.
So what do you wanna put?
Traffic and Transportation Committee, something along those lines, maybe.
That's fine with me.
We'll just officially change it to board of selectmen.
So it's still supposed to say the mission of the Columbia Traffic and Transportation Committee?
Yeah, that would change.
Okay, all those in favor?
Need a motion or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so we changed it to traffic and transportation committee.
We did introductions,
Yes,
okay. Election of chairman and vice chair. I nominate Nick Ferris for chairman. You want to accept that role?
I am willing to accept the role.
Any other nominations?
I'll second his nomination.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, excellent.
who was,
Nick Ferris?
you made
Made
a
the
motion
motion.
and Justin seconded.
No. Because you're the only real, well, not the real citizen, but you know. Like to keep us out of, because. Trooper. May be busy on days of meetings, and we can't guarantee him here all the time, and also the fire department, so. Vice Chair, I nominate Justin Riandu.
I'll second.
You willing to take that on?
Sure.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes. Okay. Mr. Chairman. Good meeting. Believe me, not leaving. Because. It's not important to me, but I've been through all of these. All of them, and have been shot down on probably. Of the 8, 7 of them. So that's why they want this committee. So with an open mind, I ask you, please, take a look at this. And wait your results.
Question, see if you plan to attend these meetings regularly, do you have any?
Ian, I do plan to attend them, probably for the old business and the review. I don't know about me sticking around for all of them.
Just so we know the county for quorum right now, that we are 9 members and.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're in.
I think I'm a minister, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's in there.
7 and 9 are present.
Okay. And you get with me and we'll talk about the report that I want to put out on Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We're gonna hop right into continuing new business, 6.4, analysis of Columbia Road and Highway to include, but not limited to. bunch of different items. Mark, did you put these items
what-
together and you want to go over them for us?
What I wanted to, I'm just showing, if you start searching on the internet, Town of Bloomfield had pretty amazing website. This is only one component of what's up there, this, toolbox. But they have, they put their meeting minutes of this meeting up there, they put their challenges of the town, they put all their ideas. And, the residents can track the progress. Now, obviously, Bloomfield is a much bigger town with a lot going on. Not that we don't have a lot going on, but we're more of a rural town, so.
We're a rural town with big highways coming through this one.
So I just thought this might be something we might wanna steal the best ideas from and create our own. For the website, and then the beauty of the toolbox is we're all using the same terminology then, when we're talking about. Lane deflection, narrowing measures, chokers, bump outs, you know, the different things that the DOT calls things. So that when we do communicate with the DOT, which in my experience, they really do wanna help, it just takes 2 years from when I do an application till. Would you say that? Well,
Yeah, it varies, but they've been backlogged, so
right.
I would say at least a good year before they give us anything.
And, you know, Beth and I just sat through a meeting with, DOT. Through the CROG, like preparing for ideas for CROG to present to DOT. And we talked, you'll see later on in here, this whole study resulted from that meeting and from the back of the packet. And it highlights exactly where all of our accidents are. The problem areas of Columbia, and we came up with some strategies that we're actually going to have another meeting to talk about. But the 666 intersection, we're going to at least try to get a left turn lane with signal from that light. Cause you cannot, I mean, sometimes there's 3 light cycles.
Yeah,
You're
it's
sitting there,
terrible.
oh my God, this is, no, I wait for 12 cars to go to me off of 6. But anyway, those are just ideas. The other problem we have with this intersection at 66 and 87 is that it jogs terribly, and it's again, the sight lines are horrible. And one idea is that, you know, possibly that should be a road route. And maybe eliminate the whole issue, because the more I go through rotaries, the more I love it.
Oh, yeah, we're a 2 traffic light town and we should be a 0 traffic light town.
So that's what all this is in here, and also you'll see there's a whole rotary section that the engineer did. And then I also have a whole packet on the presentation that DACRA did to the Board of Selectmen, which is the enforcement cameras. And then I'll turn it over to you, Nick, on how you want to use these tools and what this committee decides.
So I definitely appreciate having the traffic calming toolbox here, later on the committee can read over this, just so that if I say road diet, you know, I'm referring to taking a road and giving a little bit of an hourglass figure, because just having the road come in a little bit at the shoulders has a psychological effect that causes drivers to slow down as they drive through it, and doesn't really cost very much to do it. You're substituting asphalt for grass, so maybe it almost pays for itself.
Also, did you see everybody's been down going towards Hebron on 66? Those lines are a visual road diet to try to protect pedestrians and visually slow you down. I think they work.
Those are pretty great, those, I think we could definitely add them all over Columbia pretty easily. Assuming DOT would be receptive to that, which hopefully that now that we're organized as a committee, I know we're working in advisory capacity for the Board of Selectmen, but if we put something together, say, we studied it, here's what we're doing, we present to the Board of Selectmen, they approve it, that should carry a little bit more weight with the DOT. At least it's been my experience in other states that if you have a formal traffic and transportation body that is doing this, other than just people saying, hey, we'd like to have this or that, DOT tends to be a little more receptive to that. So, we talk about roundabouts here, I think they're a fantastic tool, I would love to see more of them throughout town. I understand there's definitely some intersections where they'd be more easily put in than others. 6 and 66 is a huge area. It would be a very extensive project to put one in there, but I don't think we would necessarily need to acquire more land for that than what's already there. A little bit different of a story right out here, at the light
Right.
over here, I think it would be difficult to use the existing area of the intersection and fit a circle in there. I took the overlay of the circles they have in Glastonbury, which are rather small, and put one over there, and it was pretty close to fitting in there as is, but I don't think DOT would be good with us putting that where a couple of 45-mile-an-hour roads quickly converge and drop speed, so that would probably be a little tougher, maybe require us to get a little bit of the 4 corner properties that are there. Pine, Hennepin, 66, solved a lot of problems there, I know there was a fatality there sometime this decade, I live just down the street there, and I've seen more accidents there than any other intersection I've ever lived at in my entire life. I just happen to see all of them. Traffic circle will work there, but again, you're looking at, it's a pretty small intersection, we probably have to acquire some property and so forth. So these are ideas I think we need to start discussion on, looking into the feasibility of, and get the ball rolling. This, again, could take potentially months, years for funding DOT and so forth.
Would it be worth looking into, maybe as a start, the long term or the short term versus long term solutions? Because when we start talking about rotaries and changing intersections, we're talking years. And I think that there's there's some good information in here as far as identifying where kind of everybody knows where the major issues are. Now, because this is accident reports, I don't know that this necessarily is directly related. I mean, obviously some of the accidents will be directly related to speeding, but we could have some areas where speed is an issue and we don't have this specific data because it's a back road or something. So would there be value in looking at, okay, what's the short term solutions versus long term speed intersections and stuff like that?
I appreciate you setting this up for the next part.
It's distracted driving, isn't it?
Yeah.
The distracted driving is difficult to enforce. It requires active enforcement and close eye, and it's taking years for it to become, I think it's a primary offense in Connecticut is being on your phone.
It's $200 fine.
Oh, so that's good.
Did you do one just yesterday?
I do multiple a day.
I mean, cell phone.
Yeah, so
Oh, is it?
not just speeding, and it's majority of the town of Columbia. So, get to that.
Now, that said, it would be useful if we could free up some of your time that you're using writing speeding tickets to do other traffic enforcement. One tool that has been presented as an option is using automated traffic enforcement, speed cameras, things of that nature. They're not new, they've been around for the better part of a century, but they've been widely adopted, especially on the East Coast over the last 20 years or so. I lived in Rockville, Maryland, about 20 years ago, and they were one of the first towns in Mid-Atlantic cities in Mid-Atlantic that was looking at adding these, and there was a lot of pushback, a lot of misunderstanding about how the technology worked. It's evolved immensely since then, and now everyone up and down the East Coast is rushing to use them, sometimes without necessarily understanding how they are most useful. So I think they are certainly a tool that can work for the town as long as we use it in the right manner, and get general buy-in from the people of the town. And the easiest way is just lay out how it works, alleviate any concerns people might have, with issues they might be reading in various places on the internet, and say, at the end of the day, this is about increasing safety. It's not a cash grab or any of the other things you might have read. Now, that said, I don't think that speed cameras are the ultimate solution to a lot of speeding problems. I think they are part of a means to an end. They will alleviate problems in certain locations, at least temporarily, maybe even over the long term, but people can become used to them, they slow down. and then they speed up in other areas. You know, you'll see a lot of that, you put a camera somewhere. You won't know that right afterwards, people will speed up right after that. Great place to set up, traffic traps is have a speed camera, and then you're quarter mile down the road and you catch them as they're speeding up after the traffic camera that they have been hit by before, so. I think this is a tool worth looking into. And the revenue that would come from automated traffic enforcement, by law must be used for traffic infrastructure improvements. And I think that's where we're gonna see the real benefits of these is, we can only put speed cameras in so many locations, probably only have so many in town. But the revenue generated from those tickets can be used to make more permanent locations, permanent improvements for traffic and safety all over town, especially in places where speed cameras aren't necessarily viable, so. Some number of months ago, I know Steve took it upon himself to look into what other towns have been doing. There's this company out of Chicago, DACRA, that's been helping towns in Connecticut with their programs. There's only a couple of companies, I think, so far that are actually doing these in Connecticut, and I would potentially want to hear from some of the other options, just so we're not going with the first one. That said, having reviewed this, and having lived in Rockville when they were starting to put their cameras together, and serving on the Traffic and Transportation Commission there for the better part of a decade, and seeing this from becoming an idea that had people up in arms to everyone loves it. I think this is not a bad option if we ultimately decide to go for it. I do think time is somewhat of the essence because we're not the first town in Connecticut. Sorry, Steve, certainly not even the first town in eastern Connecticut who is considering these. There are several towns in the region that are looking into these. And they might get them online before we do, and if they get them online before we do, they're ultimately going to benefit from them a little bit more while they are a novel approach. And I think that we can go ahead and maybe try and be the trendsetter here, get them operating in town, show them, you know, yeah, we're a small town, but we have big roads coming for us, and we can demonstrate that there's an effective way to use these tools to make things safer for everyone. So do you want to do a brief overview of this proposal, or is this something we kind of want to look at on our own and come back and talk about next meeting?
This, we've had two presentations to the board of selectmen. Actually, I'll take that back. One to Drew Brown and myself and Steve Maddox, and then the second one to the board of selectmen. The cost for the cameras are $2,500 a month per camera. And it takes two cameras to film both ways, so the cost to the town is a 3-year commitment of $5,000 a month. That's the expense side. The cameras are totally covered by the company for maintenance and service. They're either powered directly by power, you know, underground or solar. And the revenue side to offset those costs are, as was spoken, $50 for the first ticket, $65 for the second ticket, and each has a $15 processing fee attached to it. The tickets get a first pass review to make sure they hit they have to be guaranteed that they could survive going to court. That the license plate is clearly readable, there's clearly an infraction, the speed is over the minimum set. I think the state sets you have to be at least 10 miles an hour speed limit, but most towns are going higher than that.
I got a question for you, Greg, I'm gonna jump in on, these cameras, do they take a photo or a video?
I think it's a photo. I think it's a photo and there can't be anything blocking the license plate, like a bike rack, or it has to be clearly legible, and it has to register to the car that is the car in the picture. They don't care who's driving the car. Whoever's driving the car owner gets the ticket. And it'll be mailed to you. And then you have an appeal process time of so many days, and it's an online appeal. that they allow you to do. And if you have, your appeal can only be if some of the criteria are not met.
This was maybe the primary concern I had with this particular vendor. I was pretty sure the answer was they take a photo instead of a video. Other municipalities I've worked with, they have a video that goes along with the photo. There is a photo, there's a flash that's basically the, hey, we got you, expect this in the mail. But the video is kind of necessary to demonstrate the actual moving violation aspect of it. Photos work for red light cameras where you can clearly take a picture and show the car is in the intersection, the light is red. But for speeding, it's not an instantaneous violation, it's a violation over a consecutive period of time. I don't necessarily think this is a problem for us, because having reviewed how Connecticut has set up the statute authorizing these, there aren't ways to contest the tickets in terms of, oh, I wasn't speeding. Oh, there's no video of me actually speeding, how can you show that I was actually speeding? That isn't actually a valid way to contest the ticket. That said, there are vendors out there that do videos as part of their automated enforcement, and I kind of prefer to see that. And I don't know if this vendor is capable of doing that. We can look at other vendors that are.
But can we back up just a little bit? We're talking about speed cameras as if it's the solution. So what other solutions are we talking about? Because the reality is, and Steve made the statement, and the reason that the Board of Selectmen was opposed to it is because there is public opposition to that at some level. So I'm one who am very skeptical of speed cameras for various reasons. So would we be better served to kind of basically look at all the options first when they get into speed cameras in detail? But I think speed cameras specifically, that's where we really need public input. And I think everyone's opinion in the room as far as the comfort level of them and their use. And listen, I'll be the first to admit I need to learn a lot about their use. I know Marlboro uses them. I have a friend who got a ticket.
I was only
That-
6 months.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
10,
So-
6 miles an hour.
Right. And there's lots of discussion around them, but I mean, I don't want to hijack the meeting.
Oh, you're good.
Trooper, from your perspective, I mean, like, you're on the ground doing this stuff, so
Yeah,
what's
so-
your opinion?
I mean, everyone's a professional until they're not. So when it comes to my job, I've been doing my job since I got here. People are getting tickets. I'm constantly pulling people over. People are giving me dirty looks when I'm on the side of the road with a car, or when I pull them over there, every excuse in the book of how they didn't know the road, or they didn't mean to, they were listening to music, they're trying to bring their kid to school, and it's majority the residents in the town. So my biggest concern is, we're so focused on speeding, like, the town, nothing really else is going on, but we're gonna focus and have subcommittees for speeding. And make it such a big deal. Not saying it's not a big deal, but I'm doing as much as I can. Because I'm thinking, okay, well, if the town's complaining, then it's a huge issue, so I'll keep enforcing. I do over 10 traffic stops a day. Majority of them, maybe 2 of them are out of town. So with that being said, it's the residents in the town that are causing the safety concerns, the speeding. I patrol a lot on 66, 6 and 87 because those are where the cut throughs are. And from what I was told by residents and everyone here is those are the cut throughs. A lot of people from out of town are coming through there, flying down 87 during the summer. A couple of people have been walking and I've seen cars fly by them and I go after them. So I was down there a lot just for safety reasons. I know a lot of people are out walking, riding bikes or whatnot. Majority of the people I'm pulling over, if not all, are from Columbia. And I'm, at this point, there are no warnings. I'm not giving warnings because I'm not just here for the town. If there's a serious call I have to go to it, I'm doing investigations. I don't think people realize like the job that I have. I still work for the state as well. And I feel like we're just trying to If you want one person to just be here to do traffic stops for speeding, then the town needs to pay for someone to just do traffic stops for speeding, because my job entails a lot. I gotta be a counselor, I gotta work with the fire department, and go to medical calls, and try to talk people from hurting themselves, like, there's a lot to the job. I'm proud to do the job, I love doing the job, I will continuously stop people, for cell phone use. Majority of my traffic stops, if I'm not using my radar, it's cell phones. So if I'm on a traffic stop and it's not for speeding, it's because they were on their cell phones. And there's no excuse. Really, to me, you can give me any excuse you want, but to me, there's no excuse to be on your phone, especially when you're speeding on top of it. So with that being said, I think the residents of Columbia need to kind of take a good look at themselves, because I've even pulled over someone who she even said, I'm usually the one complaining about people speeding.
Right.
And to me, that's just like contradicting. So now, like, you want us to enforce, but when you're the one getting the ticket, because it's not a $50 ticket, it's not a $65 ticket. If you're on 87 and you're going 50 miles an hour, that's almost $200 ticket from the state. And I have no problem writing that. But then I don't want Mark and Steve to then get complaints that, hey, the trooper's pulling us all over and we're all getting tickets. Well, you wanted speed enforcement, I'm doing it, you're the one speeding. So it's kind of like a win-lose situation for us, I would say, in the sense of like, we're trying to do what the town is asking. But the town themselves aren't really kind of taking their own responsibility and driving the speed limits. I'm not from here, I don't live here. So if I know that the speed limit is 35 or 45, and you're going 60 miles an hour on 35, and you live on that road, when I check your address, and you say, oh, I didn't even realize. Well, you've lived here for 15 years, you didn't know this road was 35 miles an hour? Like, I just got here and I knew that. So, I mean, the excuses are insane, but I would say that it annoys me that our biggest problem in the town is speeding, yet the people, the ones that are complaining, and or just the town itself, is their own problem. And it's like, if they just took their foot off the gas, slow it down, and just drive normal, the speed will go down. It's not the people from out of town. And then with that being said, we need to focus on, okay, well, we want speed bumps. The roads are curvy. Speed bumps are bad, especially in the winter. You have the plows, like, they think that putting up more signs are gonna do something. I'm sorry, but I've driven on 87, the amount of signs on 87 alone are horrendous. And if we're gonna put up more signs for people not to pay attention to, especially in the town, it makes no sense, we're wasting money where we can put it to a different resource. So I mean, that was just my thing, I can go on a rant, but it's the town of Columbia, the residents need to slow it down. I was happy to come to this to warn everyone, like, there are no warnings at this point. I'm going to enforce the speed, because that's what the town is complaining about the most. And you're gonna receive tickets, and they're not $50 tickets like speed cameras. I'm for the speed cameras because it brings revenue to the town. And it will catch people on roads that I don't have to pay attention to anymore. I can then go on the back roads and focus more on those roads. That realistically, again, the town of Columbia residents are the ones going through. Because there's some side streets that I go to that I was like, I would never come over here unless I was working in this town. Like, you would never know about this road. Yeah, we're getting complaints about this road, so there's probably people that live on it. So it's one of those things that it's just like, we kind of need to really think about before we start complaining about speeding. Who's the ones speeding, and not just that, let's focus on the things we can fix, because realistically, at the end of the day, the only one that can fix speeding, which you can't fix, we've been trying for centuries now, is law enforcement. Okay, people are gonna speed, I'm doing the best I can. I'm free to work overtime if the town wants to pay me, but it's gonna happen and we're gonna be there. I can 100% rally a bunch of troopers and then just destroy Columbia and traffic stops, but like, I can promise you, the more complaints are gonna come from the
Yeah,
town.
and that's the thing that we crest that hill where we make.
Well, that's the thing, it's like,
Complaints from the other end.
you wanna complain about the speeding, constantly send me emails, constantly send Mark and Steve emails, and then you're getting on me about it. And then guess what I'm gonna do? Okay, keep complaining, now we're gonna enforce it and you're not gonna like it. So it's like, what do you want? I think we need to focus on like the important things, right? Like, how can we focus on keeping the public that's walking, riding their bikes on these roads safe? Not, yes, they're speeders, but like, can we talk to DOT and get the lanes pushed out or get a bike lane or things like that? I think we're just focused way too much on the speeding aspect. And to me, it's just very annoying. Cause I am out there a lot every single day.
On that note, we also partner with T2 Center, in Yukon. And our liaison is Jason, he's a retired state trooper. Just dropped off speed cameras, 2 of them, we put one on Whitney.
We put one on Whitney and
Whitney
Cargill.
and Clarksville.
Must be cameras.
No,
They're the speed
To
limits.
tell you how fast you're going.
And with those, does anyone get notified that there were does it track like there were?
it's supposed to track and like keep a
Log.
tally and like a log of
A
like
lot of how many there were,
how many times someone's driven by here speeding.
got it.
Do we plug a computer into it and do a download or?
I have to email Jason, there's a way to have everything uploaded.
Cause that would be
somehow by
helpful, 'cause
satellite.
you get all the complaints, but then if you upload the data log, you can say how many people were speeding in the average.
So, Mark,
Well, just one question from,
Go ahead,
Yes.
the lady in the front can go first.
I just had a comment on that, is that I understand what you're saying, that it is the residents for sure. I mean, cause I walk and bike and drive on these roads, and there's a lot of pressure even when you're driving, that cars get really antsy behind you. So there is this sort of culture of going fast on these roads that I think I've noticed that the Department of Transportation is working throughout the state to try to do other things like the rotaries and the things that were in Hebron to kind of just slow cars down in other ways, because it's just that it is a problem that has to be fixed with other solutions, I think.
Agreed.
Is
Yes.
the packet of information online, like the planning and zoning packets are online? That you guys are looking at, are those
I'll make
online?
sure we get all this online,
Okay, thank you.
because this was all put together relatively soon, and my executive assistant's on vacation, so.
Okay,
Much of this was in
Have you ever
fact posted.
packet?
Yeah. Was it digital? You understand it?
And that's my question.
Like, there's no.
Okay, so. I agree that it's interesting to hear that Columbia residents are the ones doing the primary arrests. There is concern that if we enact speed cameras as a solution and Columbia residents quickly become accustomed to them and lower their speed, that on one hand, mission accomplished to some extent, but on the other hand, then we're leasing these cameras and maybe they're not making their revenue. I do think that based on the studies we did earlier this year for 3 days, and we had the strips out that were counting speeders, I think it's a larger problem, especially along the main highways, and this is still something worth considering. That said, Justin, you're 100% correct, that there is definitely some trepidation from residents as to implementing this kind of program. I'm happy to consider all the solutions. This one I'm kind of looking at partly because I know that this committee was formed primarily in response to looking at this proposal. And the Board of Selectmen did not necessarily want to address it directly. They want us to look at a wider scope and consider a range of solutions. So we can definitely talk about other solutions, and we can go straight down this list if you think that's something that's worth doing.
Yeah, I think we should look at all, I mean, I believe that it would be a good idea to look at all solutions.
Let's start right at the top of the list. Oh yeah,
We can send a representative. I don't think Steven's available.
I am attending.
You gonna go?
I've already enrolled.
Oh, perfect, then you can bring back all the knowledge you.
I've taken that for both state of Maryland and Virginia. They have almost identical programs, so I will get the Connecticut flavor of that and report back.
Thank you, Nick.
so can I just add that, in listening and having conversations with Trooper Allen, being the chief, being in the fire department for 33 years, You used to have one of the most dangerous roads in the state and in the country. It was called Suicide 6. Speed was an issue. Speed's still an issue to this day. Where did the fatals go? We used to go to a fatal every Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, every week. Every week. State invested some money, made turn lanes, widened the roads, and solved the problem. They didn't solve speed. You're never going to solve speed. You could flood this town with 100 troopers and you won't solve speed. Speed is a national problem. Distracted driving is a special a problem. When we're out on the roads, just like we were for a motorcycle accident down the intersection last weekend. People don't even recognize us. They don't even see us. They don't even see the lights. They don't even see their lights. We don't exist. So, we talk about roundabouts and all that. You're not gonna get a roundabout at 66 and 87 because you have a hill. They're not gonna put a roundabout into a hill, and you're not gonna get rid of that hill. Because what are you gonna make 3 other hills to get rid of the hill coming up? I've lived in this town my whole life. Born and raised, and I've seen it all. We are kind of our own worst enemy. We all speed from time to time. I've gotten tickets just like you did in Marlboro. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Re-traffic modifications there, accidents have slowed down there. We haven't gone to a lot of them. The census that you guys pulled is pretty correct. I can tell you out of all those fatals, fatals were a stop sign issue. They didn't even see the stop sign and went right into 66. Now we have huge stop signs. We've asked at Doubleday, Latham Hill and 87. We put bigger stop signs there. Why? People don't see the stop signs. We were starting to get accidents there. Why is the state of Connecticut putting wrong way driving signs up? Because people are distracted driving. So when you don't see us and you go the wrong way on the road, you're either impaired or you're distracted and you're getting on the highway going the wrong direction, or you're just breaking the law one way or another. I'm for this, but we can't have everything. We want the speed to come down. The only way you're gonna get the speed to come down is for all of us to get involved in it and take control of it. You see kids speeding. We were all kids at one time. We all did it. And some kids learn the hard way and some don't. It is what it is. I just think we need to look at big pictures and trying to put road narrowing. You're not gonna road narrow Route 87 going towards the lake. It's already tiny enough as it is. I walk Route 87 from Lake Road towards the center, and there is no room on the road. You're actually getting off the road onto the grass, and it's been that way. Why? It was a country road that ended up turning into almost a major highway to get from there towards New London. It is, we live in a country town. And we all have to get on board with telling each other to slow down. Because when I have conversations with Trooper Allen and I hear it's Columbia residents, okay, so it's our own people breaking the law and we're complaining about it. So, thank you.
No, and here's one of the uncomfortable truths is in all of that is sometimes we're looking for a solution to a problem that we may think the problem is something else. If the problem is us, we could put up speed cameras all day and we've heard the word revenue used several times, but that's all they become, is just a revenue source and a civil liberties issue. So, I mean, I think we just have to have a really sober conversation. Like if Trooper has statistics that 90% of all the speeders that he's pulling over are residents of Columbia. And listen, I don't know if we have, maybe we have, but if we're not having a very honest conversation with everybody to say, listen, you're complaining, but we're the ones doing this. Like, what's the solution to that, right?
Well, it's because it's social media. It's because I can text, I can put them up a Facebook post and complain, and 15 people jump on board of my thread, and I got a real good feeling about it. But you were just got in trouble, as he stated. I was the one complaining. So you were the one that complained online. Why didn't you go back on it and said, I just got a ticket?
Yeah.
Because what happens here is, and I know end up in the town, Facebook blows up. Why are there troopers in the town of Columbia?
It's unwinnable.
So we could ask Troop K to come in and flood this town with 15 troopers and Facebook would blow up. Because everyone would be like, what's going on? Well, you asked for speeding control, so they're gonna do it. You're 100% right, Jason. It's having that honest conversation. Or, I'm sorry, I don't guess his name.
Everybody calls me Jason.
I don't know why, he's on it, we're on another committee together, and I always get his name wrong, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
But 100% correct that, it's having that honest conversation.
Just to throw out one thing, my wife was the librarian for over 10 years and used to have every day going to school, the parents were backed up behind her because they all wanted to fly to school to drop their kids off because they're running late.
Yeah.
And now she works at Middlesex Community College, same thing. They're all backed up trying to get to school because they didn't leave enough time.
Right.
Porter, kids going to E.O. Smith.
Yeah.
Flying to E.O. Smith because they slept in 20 minutes too late and they're trying to make it up by speeding.
Yeah, and then the traffic that's associated on 66 just for Porter, I mean, to be backed up past 87 sometimes, depending on, you know, when people all decide to converge, so. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be negative or anything, I just think, you know, there's some discussion about pedestrian safety, I think that's super important. I think having really specific things, you know, and kind of seeing what has worked elsewhere, again, I know I've made my opinion on a couple things, but leaving everything on the table, but really kind of making sure that it fits the situation we find ourselves in. I think that's, you know, the goal.
So what I'm hearing, I think.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, but.
Just a quick question. I agree with you and, you know, everybody else that, you know, you're not gonna stop people speeding. It is. You're not gonna stop distracted driving. It is. My question is, if we, as a Columbia resident, want to, you know, even a speed camera, you know, it's there, they're speeding, it happens time and time again, it's not resolving it. Route 6, they did the turn lanes, they widened, it was effective. Who do we talk to as a Columbia resident about getting something done in our neighborhood? Be it, you know, and I know everybody's probably opposed to speed bumps, but we have that Rose's Bridge, which is across through to the town of Coventry. And, you know, it's constant. Who do we talk to about getting a walk lane or speed bumps? How do we pursue that as residents?
Well, I think the answer to that is now,
This is,
we talked,
Yeah.
this is, now we're here, so. That is, so one thing we need to be a little careful about, we're focusing on a bunch of solutions. Maybe we need to take a step back and make sure we are on board with what problems we want to address before we start throwing solutions at things. So there's the idea that there's a lot of speeding in town. Before today, I could have sworn it was out of towners were most of the problem with that, especially because we have these major highways, and now I'm informed that that's not actually the case, it's Columbia residents. That probably suggests other solutions, education, having heart to heart with people and saying, you're complaining about speeding. But the problem is right here in the town, so I think maybe let's focus on what are the actual problems without confusing it with solutions at the same time, so I guess, go ahead. So question number one would be, do we think speeding is a problem in the town that we want to find a way to address? There are already efforts to address it, certainly your continued efforts are making a big difference. Do we want to look at potential other solutions? Do we think it's a problem that, and then necessitates additional solutions? If you ask any Columbia resident, you're probably gonna get a yes from most of them. We need to take a look at the facts and consider the whole picture, so.
To go along with that, again, kind of starting at the bottom, I think a simple solution, we'll call it, is like a PSA. I joke about it, but put a billboard of Trooper Allen in the center of town saying like, slow down and don't use your phone unless you want to meet me.
things.
But even just that, like I said, it's all Columbia residents getting some
Yeah,
education.
half the time I'm pulling every traffic stop I've done yesterday, besides one, where I towed his car, is Columbia, and they say, oh, you're the new resident trooper. And that's how I'm meeting residents, is by pulling them over. I rarely, I met you here at one of the last meeting we came to, and I'll see people coming into the town hall, cause I do make my rounds and I stop here every morning, and then I'm out on the road, I'm never really in my office. And majority of the residents that I've met are through traffic stops, and they're like, oh, thank you so much, and I'm like, well, it's, wasn't a gift.
So,
Um,
go ahead.
I want to say that I appreciate the work you're doing, and I think it is making a difference. I have seen like down by Lake Road, like since you've been here, I feel like there has been a slowing down of traffic, so I do think it's making a difference.
Oh, and I'll keep doing it, I'm not gonna stop. But, yeah, I hope no one thinks that that's gonna happen, like, I'm not gonna stop, I'm just letting you know that. From the residents of Columbia, and I know it's not everyone that's complaining, right, I think. The ones that I pull over and they're like, ugh, they're probably not the ones complaining, but for example, I did pull someone over and she said. Yeah, I'm usually the one complaining about the speeding, and I thought it was ironic. As I'm hitting her.
But she was honest.
Yeah, she was honest, and so was I, but I think it's just like for speeding, right, solution. Okay, we put in the digital sign notices, we put 2 in, we put 1 in Whitney yesterday, and they just put 1 in Carsville. We only have 2 of them, so that's where we put them, that's where we know that, based off of talking with. DPW and just when they're working on those side roads, that area is where it's at, okay, well, I told them, put them there. If we get more, we can put them more, I've been going through the side roads a lot more now to see if I can catch them. I've talked to Mark and Steve to get radar, in my vehicle, right now I have laser, but on those side roads, I can't catch them fast enough by the time they come up over a hill and I go to hit them. They're already flying by me and hitting brakes. If I have a radar, it catches them before they even know I'm there. So speeding, and as she said, it must be doing something. The residents know I'm here. They see me often. Some of them wave, some of them don't. That's fine. But I'm here to do a job, and town is paying me to be their resident trooper. So I'm gonna continue doing that. So I think for speed, I think we have the solutions. We have, the problem was speeding solutions. We put up digital signs. I'm constantly doing traffic stops and being present. I'm not hiding behind buildings. I'm being seen. And as of that, I think, if we don't wanna do the speed cameras, I don't think we really have to. I think it's educating the town residents and letting them know, like, hey, like, we're the problem, let's fix ourselves, and then see how much more of that, fixes the speeding issue in the town.
Yeah, my opinion is too, is a lot of it is just being very, very honest with everyone, and I don't know that that's a step that we've taken yet, it's just to say, guys, come on, here's the reality, we're not gonna sugarcoat it, like. This is who we're pulling over, these are the statistics, we're doing traditional enforcement. And I really like the idea of the signs that we've put up on Whitney and other places, are we doing any more of those,
So
or?
we only have 2 right now.
I guess he has 2 more in his
Right, so
building that he fixed, so we have, I guess, 2 more.
Are they mobile? Can they be
Like,
relocated?
so that you be put up and taken down, it's just more so, I mean, a lot of complaints, I would say in the last few weeks were Whitney. And honestly, it wasn't Carsville itself, but we know that general area is catching a lot, so we're hoping to slow it down there.
We can't do any work on Cards Mill, even like our roadside mower, which you can't miss, it's huge.
Yeah.
We have to have a truck with lights following, because on Cards Mill,
Do we have a schedule for how long these signs are gonna remain in their current locations? Cause I know their effectiveness tends to drop off after a period of
so
time.
we can,
I mean, it's really,
big
you give me
recommendation,
a
So-
recommendation, how long to leave it in one spot, and then we'll move on.
yeah,
30
I don't-
days is the number, but that's if you have a larger town with a lot of people who can move them around, something like 60 or 90 might be more practical.
well, I know the spot in Old Willimantic. We got a lot of complaints where it's regular frozen into a dip.
Yeah.
Where people are flying and they're flying down and back up again on Old Willimantic. But we did put cameras up there and it wasn't as bad as was being reported. T2 Center came out, just did.
Not
database.
cameras, those strips.
There was, right. No, it
Were
was,
they or were
he
they?
mounted it on a pole, so it
That's
was,
right.
it did the data, but it didn't tell anybody how fast they were. It was just a camera.
Collection.
Yeah.
And first of all, there's a perfect spot for you to sit on Roses Bridge Road, right over the bridge, you'd be hidden or right before the bridge that you could catch them. So number one, I wanna know, how do we get you on our road or one of those the electronic speed things?
So, yeah, so to answer that question, to get me on your road, we need to know, like Steve said, if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it, right? Like, I don't like just sitting around doing nothing, so if I have free time, I'm just driving around. Jeff sees me all the time, he'll see me right at the fire department, and then next thing you know, when he's driving, he'll see me on, 87 or 66, like, I'm always moving, cause I don't want anyone to think I'm just in one location every single day at the same time. So I just need to know about it, and then I'll drive through it and I'll stop, because if I can go to a new location and get more speeders, I'm having a great day.
Okay.
So I just need to know about it, and then.
Best day ever.
Yeah, and for the speed signs, it's another thing, for the speed signs, we just need to know where the issues are. Again, it's a temporary solution, because again, we have how many signs on 87, yet people still speed, so it's gonna now yell at you like, hey, you're going this fast, and they're probably gonna keep going that speed, but it's a temporary solution to a agonizing problem that we have.
My other comment is that you were talking about like simple solutions. I don't think there's a speed limit sign between the bridge and Route 6. So I don't know if people just think this is a super highway and they can go 50, 60 miles an hour.
Not fair.
But we also have a neighbor who you go over the bridge and then there's a curve and he lives right here. He has asked the town several times for a blind driveway sign, and he was told that the town of Columbia no longer does that. It is.
No, Federal Highway Administration will not let us install those.
So I'm thinking even like bigger signs or lit up signs that say speed limit. Once you come over that bridge, maybe would make people more aware, hey, maybe somebody's watching me. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
maybe this is, they're gonna be, more closely monitoring this. If they start seeing maybe some signage go up, might help, but that electronic thing would really help, and you would love if you would join us.
I agree that things do make a difference, and I'm hearing that like Route 6 got fixed by doing things. And I think the traffic stops are helping. I think the sign that they put with the pedestrian walking across Lake Road by the beach helped people going this way, but there isn't one coming the other way, and that's where people run through it, I think, in my perception. Coming down Lake Road towards the beach. If they're coming from Berdoni,
Yes.
yes, they go through much more often, in my perception as a walker, than the people coming from 87 towards the beach. And there's a pedestrian sign that's very visible with a person walking on the one side, but there's not one on the other side. So I do think that those things, I'm just trying to say, I think they are making a difference. And I actually lived here quite a while without knowing what the speed limit was on Hennepin, because I didn't see the sign, and I wondered for a long time, and I kept thinking, I gotta keep.
There's speed signs on there.
There are,
There are a few.
but I'm saying that I did actually live here for a long time without knowing what they were on some of the roads, like this person was saying, so.
And what's neat about this is, if you look at,
First, I'd like to say though, we did get a grant and it's through DOT that they are replacing every speed limit sign in
Okay.
town. So that's something that's,
It'll be brand new, big.
everything will be, specifically up to code every so many feet, so
And they might,
we'll see that happening.
they're not guaranteed to put them back where they are. They're gonna.
No, they're gonna move
analyze.
them and place them.
So that's
to
coming soon.
regulations.
Yeah, and we've learned a lot in the last 20, 30 years about where speed limit signs are more effective, and hopefully they take that into account. Yes,
I was gonna say, like, there's almost a dynamic solution to this, because what's interesting is, you're not in one place all the time. The signs, if I understand, we can kind of get some information from, but they don't need to stay in one place forever. And if we really work, see, we live in dialogue communication, that's where all of this stuff breaks down. right? And then speeding is ambiguous, so everybody's getting complaints about speeding, but I can guarantee you that the percentage of some of those complaints are not directly related to speeding.
Yeah.
So we have to be a little bit more broad in our perspective here, so I think if you were to look at very, very clear line of communication to the town to say, all right, well, the sign was up here and now we're gonna move it over here because this area we're seeing, you know, because the residents are communicating that there's challenges over here, and then you have a good communication path and you're going over here, and like, we're just constantly like looking at the situation and being dynamic about it. I think, and plus tying that to saying, guys, you know, the conversation before, we're gonna have a real conversation with everybody, like, here's the reality of it. I think from the speeding side, that's probably one good thing to look at. But I don't think it's a solution that stays in one spot and then that's the end of it. Like, if we do that, we're gonna spin our wheels and it's gonna be a complete waste of time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it was clear. The Route 6 thing fixed the fatals we were going to. It did not fix speed. So I just want
Right.
that to be clear.
Right.
It fixed the accidents. We still get them, but we did a quick run of what we run to accidents in order. We did a 5-year span. We did 174 accidents with some sort of injury, and we did 73 that had no injuries over a 5-year period. So it's not eye-opening to us. Majority of our accidents, and when we looked at the map, are correct. They're on the major roads. They're not on the back roads. So just, you know,
Major roads have more traffic, so.
Correct.
There's more, yeah.
Yeah, and back again to the education side and with the aspect of like speed cameras, again, being just transparent that we have this committee and we're talking about it and putting it out to the public. The revenue and that idea of things might have deter people from putting those out. What about saying that to the public, being like, hey, we're looking at all options, and if this town doesn't start slowing down, we're gonna be investing in speed cameras and stuff, almost like a threat to
This is really
it.
good. So I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna frame this around, okay, we're gonna try and identify a problem. Is it fair to say that there is a problem with the residents of Columbia speeding in Columbia? And it sounds like it's
Yeah.
almost self-reported at this
Yeah.
point. Cool, you're the
Yeah.
problem, let's see what we can do about it. I think you're hitting on maybe step number one of a solution is, first of all, informing the town of Columbia that you are a large part of this issue. This is news to me as of today, because everywhere else I've ever lived, especially with main roads going through there, it's commuters who are the majority of the speeders. So the fact that it's actually the other way around and you're ticketing mostly Columbia residents is certainly eye-opening. So I think step one might be telling the town, hey, we recognize we have a speeding problem. Do you recognize that you are a large contributing factor to this? And see what people come back with at that point, and then we can do things and say, we are considering a number of options to this problem. One of them is this, and another is this, and a third is speed cameras. When we present it to people and say, there is a problem with speeding, you are contributing to it, and we are offering these solutions, it's gonna be harder for them to push back against these potential solutions and say, well, we want speeding fixed, but we don't want it fixed this way. We don't want it fixed in that I'm suddenly getting speed camera tickets. So I think once we frame it as, we have solutions, you may not necessarily like them, but we gotta go forward with some of them anyway, or you have to recognize there isn't a problem. You know, we'll see how people feel about that. But I think if we can explore what are the very short-term solutions for educating, not necessarily educating, but informing people that there is a town-wide speeding problem they are contributing to. And maybe just with that mindset, people will start thinking, oh, you know what, I am contributing to this, I am doing 16 or 45. Let me be more aware of my speed as I'm traveling along 66 and 87.
Just, I'm sorry, just that, I don't want to steal your glory, is that possibly gonna be part of your 20-second speech? Or
If we're doing, what's that, tomorrow?
on the 22nd?
No, that's 27th.
22nd, yeah, so that's why I didn't wanna get too much into it, cause I was gonna kind of do that.
Perfect. I think
Then,
that's a good
But
form.
like Steve was saying, so Steve had asked like, hey, can we get, and he can talk to my superior to get the statistics, or we can just look it up to see the statistics of how many stops I do, what patrol checks I do, how many calls I go to for service. So realistically, I can get the number of traffic stops I do. I've already talked to a trooper and I was like, hey, you wanna come help me out in Columbia, and we could just do what we used to do when everyone was excited and young. And just start pulling people over for everything and just see what's going on, because it seems like people just are kind of getting too distracted and speeding, and there's a school zone, but people don't realize it's a school zone is usually my excuse.
Problem number two, there seems to be a distracted driving problem in town. I think we can kind of all agree without objection, that is.
I'm just gonna give Steve the stats on like Mondays, and then you can put them up for the town, so when they educate the town, like, hey, this is what's happening every Monday on the town website. They could see kind of like traffic stops, whether it was cell phone or speeding, and then how many residents.
Yeah, I think that would be a wrong.
People's names. Like.
No, I don't think not to, I don't wanna go
Yeah, I mean,
and dive into those weeds, but stats,
Not for.
the stats are public information,
Steve wants to
so.
do that?
What's a shame.
But you can get yourself in trouble doing that shit.
Yeah, so
I don't think.
you can get
Just
stats,
I think
it's public information,
stats will-
so I can get those and post them. On the town website to inform people kind of like, okay, how many traffic stops were done, today. How many were cell phones, how many were speeding, how many were residents of Columbia? It doesn't need to be anyone's name, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's the fact that it's the town, right? So we're trying to minimize, if it's outside the town, I can handle that, that's fine. But if it's, me freshly coming in and the biggest complaint is speeding, and everyone I'm pulling over is in the town of Columbia. To me, it's eye opening, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like,
well, driving is not the primary objective anymore behind a vehicle.
yeah,
That's.
because I mean, we've had conversations, majority of our accidents we get to is, I was on my cell phone and I swerved to the left lane, almost hit head on, and now I caused a 3-car accident. Okay, well, now you get a citation, actually you get 2, but like, what are we doing? So for just speeding and distract driving are the same too. I think we can sum into one, that's the problem. Our solution is what we just kind of last 30 minutes talking about, and I'll keep enforcing. But I can tell you right now, there's not enough of me for the amount of people on my cell phone. Because especially on going right by the school, the firehouse, I'll sit in the fire parking lot, and I'll go to pull someone over, which then the traffic's backing up to 87, because I'll try to pull them over right there and there's no wiggle room. So you're just sitting there in the road, now you have to do a 1-lane thing, so I try to make it fast, but they're constantly on their phones. It's constantly, I mean, I think I do more traffic stops in certain areas just on phones than I do speed, because I could just sit there and watch and everyone's on their phone.
So I think part of this announcement, this is gonna be a weekly thing, and it's gonna go on the town website.
No, what we decided, emergency management, we had a statewide simulation of emergency management personnel, and it opened our eyes that we probably need to do a public service announcement of the different departments, fire, emergency management, first selectmen, town administration, police. And we're just gonna film it, like we're in the room right now, and launch it onto Facebook and to our website, on our own.
Hitting all the platforms.
Right, different platforms, not real long, so people can be educated as to what some of the key things our different departments are noticing.
And I think part of that education, we should inform them of solutions we are potentially looking at, and I think that all options are on the table at this point. Speed bumps are not on the table, but that's my personal opinion, and I don't think we should necessarily rule anything out. And let's see what people say about that.
And I think a big part of that, Mark, and maybe this is where you can help too, is because people are coming into meetings and contacting the town with complaints. And part of this, I think we haven't always made the situation better with, and I'm not throwing any particular person on the bus, but our response to it is, well, we'll find a solution, or yes, the speeding is 100% the problem every time, you know. So I think the message from the town needs to be really clear when we have residents coming in. Okay, here's the path for you to say, you're seeing speeding here. This is the pathway to get a resolution from the town. Plus the response from the town or the board of selectmen or whoever it is back to the residents complaining is, here are the statistics. We want to be completely open and honest with you on what's happening and stop jumping to conclusions as far as what the solutions would be.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I like that.
And I could start assembling, I do get email complaints, I could start assembling those and give that to the committee.
That would be
And
fantastic.
use that as more data of where we're having issues.
Yeah, so we'll find ourselves in a position where, and nobody ever likes to say this, but sometimes there is no good solution to a problem. But if we let and I'm not saying that I don't think that's the case here, but if we let the communication get out of hand and the communication, the complaints are not realistic from what's happening on the ground, that's what we find ourselves in. We've put ourselves in a situation saying we can't do anything about it because it's not the reality of what's happening.
Yeah, there's definitely the concept of there's an issue versus a perceived issue, and we need to find out what the reality is.
It's the human factor that always screws it up.
Now, one other thing we need to decide is how often do we wanna meet? And we need to establish a schedule with the town clerk as what those meeting dates will be in for the future, cause it sounds like we're gonna try to accomplish a lot. I was thinking monthly, but maybe monthly is not enough,
I'm fine with an increase over monthly, I don't know how other,
but maybe it could then fade out, maybe we meet more often for a little while and then get
Yeah,
back
you
to
can
more
change
of a monthly and eventually a quarterly.
Yeah, I know this is top of mind for everybody. The only concern, we have these meetings at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, so we're just gonna limit people, you know, we're gonna have limited people here. I know that there's some people who really want to be here and can't. And I understand with staffing and stuff.
What would be the best time? Cause right now we're thinking a lot of it is staff.
Good. I propose another subject, which is once we start getting to the weeds and maybe coming up with potential solutions, we could form subcommittees to investigate. If they investigate those, I can meet at other times, that are 9 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know.
So I'm not opposed to 9 o'clock on Wednesday. I'm open to other options, but at the same time, more than half, I think, is made up of town staff. So we need to be respectful of their time as well, not have them here 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So in absence of a better proposal, I would suggest that we do what we're doing now. Is this the third? This is the third Wednesday, first and third Wednesday, 9 AM.
I can do that.
I guess, yeah, one's as good as the other, so do them fast.
And then,
There are no objections. I think we'll do first and third Wednesday, at 9 AM.
third and nine.
Gary, question for you about the speed cameras, which I just found out last night, but then how the statute's written about the owner getting ticketed of the operator.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have heard, and it seems like that people that appeal it are stating that you can't prove I was operating. And they've actually gotten thrown out, and I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's.
It's our owner.
Well, that's the thing, that's just like if you were driving, right, it's,
His
if
unregistered
you're
vehicle.
driving a car, I'm going over and I find something in it. I'm not going after the owner, I'm going after who's driving the vehicle. On a speed camera, you're not gonna be able to see who's driving it, so it goes straight to the owner.
Yeah, it's not a traffic or criminal citation, it's a civil citation against the owner for allowing their vehicle to be operated in an unsafe manner.
Okay.
This has been tried and tested in other states and cities for a couple decades now, and I think it's probably a myth that people are getting these thrown out by making that claim. You
I know somebody personally though, that's happened in Marlboro, actually, so, I mean, it would be great to get his.
He got it from a guy I worked with, got one from our road.
That's a little
The other day.
disappointing, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's why, because they know ambiguous, like, it was, yeah.
Yeah, they were probably taking the lazy approach and saying, oh, you're testing it fine, we're not gonna deal with you, we'll go out.
You're gonna
and
take it
I don't know. Yeah, so,
I was just curious.
But once you start throwing tickets out, then it'll encourage everyone.
Well, that's what I'm.
Appeal, and then all of a sudden you're burying
Updated.
your appeal process.
you're right.
I think it's a big brother revenue generator.
And actually another question for you,
Yeah.
in regards to roundabouts. I know again, the talk is 66 because of the area and the spacing. I've never seen one, I don't know if you have, where it involves residential and a highway coming together.
All the time in Maryland, Virginia.
Actually, in,
That's
they just put two in.
New Hampshire has one right on Route 1 where.
Massachusetts has them too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Near the Cape.
Haddam just put in two, where 154 and Bridge Street cross, and 154 and Route 7, which is now 10, exit off Route 9.
Okay.
Cross.
So can I ask why a roundabout at 6 and 66? I'm just curious, because if you think we're going there for a ton of accidents, we're not. The fire department's not, maybe CSPs are going for fender benders, and why are there fender benders?
Not paying attention with the on and off.
Yeah, they're not paying attention. So
Several necessary.
I drive through Glastonbury on Hebron Ave where they put those two roundabouts in, I hate them.
Those are
And-
horribly designed.
And
Yeah.
they're small, they're too narrow, and
Barely get a car around.
you do, if you
But
want to
it's
put.
traffic calming,
Correct,
that's
agreed,
what they did it for.
agreed, so,
85 and 82 actually, I think, works. That one.
but I just don't. They've heard it multiple times, I'm like, what is the purpose?
I don't think
You're
you
bringing
get-
too much traffic into a roundabout, you're gonna have to have that roundabout 3 lanes wide.
I don't think you get T-boned in a roundabout, you just get fender benders. I think
But we
I
have
feel
those,
like if we did put a roundabout at 6 and 66, we're gonna see more accidents because.
yes,
You're now telling them, instead of, hey, there's a traffic light and you're gonna have to stop.
Right.
Now you're saying, hey, yield, which we all know how that works.
Mhm.
And now you're telling four different lanes that you can yield
actually, it's more than.
when you can. Yeah, so you're gonna have to double it, so it's gonna be major.
There's generally an adjustment period when a new roundabout appears, but I've never seen a report of a roundabout after it's actually been in existence for a while. Where accidents have actually increased. That said, this could be another, we're coming with a solution to a problem we haven't actually identified yet.
I think the biggest thing there is not the lack of it, because green arrow.
Right.
Like, that's so much, like, I
the
don't.
green arrow is not a lot.
That would be even on this side here, on the IS7.
So,
Yeah.
when you brought up
It's everything's announced.
Yeah.
when you brought up the green arrow, I totally agree with it, I sat there, I'm just like.
It's like, I don't know why it'd be.
87, if I had a green arrow coming to work, that'd be wonderful. Instead, it's
And look what they did right now, put an arrow in.
I've been branching off into a bunch of different things, we can probably
Possibly not.
finish up the meeting, one of us now, just some homework.
Basically, like,
Well, I know they have, they're setting up.
but that's the 5-year process.
Yeah. So I think we'll meet again on the first Wednesday at 9 AM. The homework is familiarize with yourself with the tools in this traffic calming toolbox, if you haven't already. And we will see what responses are when we start putting out statistics to the town and letting them know that they are a big part of the problem. And we're considering some solutions which you may or may not like, and maybe next meeting we start talking about potential solutions. So, any correspondence? Item 7, hearing none, additional audience with citizens, anything further? Board member comments, we made a lot. Cool.
So November 5th is our next meeting?
Still leaving an option, that'll be at work, so.
Yeah, I think, we've got Zoom right now, so absolutely morning. Thank you. I would make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Right.
Night.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Then you got the recruiting event stuff, like you're already sending a letter out to people, right, how many,